I've been here before. I remember this feeling. The ache, the exhaustion. But every time I come back here, it hits me all over again. The madness, the hype, the relentless crowds of people, all hungry for the same thing. We've travelled here from all over the world. We all came here to be amazed. Show me something big. Show me something I've never seen before. Take me somewhere I've never been. I'm ready to be blown away. All right, day one. Well, we arrived yesterday and I made a terrible mistake and went to sleep when I shouldn't have, which means I woke up at midnight and I've been awake ever since. Not good jet lag management. Next few days are gonna be interesting. Traffic, driving, waiting in line. Day one is all about prepping for the relentless week ahead. But before I can even get my hands on a game, we have a whole lot of press conferences to see. Starting with, for the first time, Bethesda. Apparently, they have a little game they're pretty keen to show off.
Games are important to all of us here. And I think we can all agree that tonight starts a week with E3 that is the world's best week of entertainment ever.
It's good to be back.
What if every player, regardless of platform or past experience, had the ability to build and instantly share their own creations?
Smells like tyranny where you go, a man sheet, anything but calm, a regular pint size atom bomb.
Well, that was really exciting. Bethesda's first ever showcase, and there was a lot of love in the room from Bethesda fans, which makes sense because they make big games that people spend a lot of time in. Doom, it's one of the first games that I remember being really terrified in, and this reboot looks intense and graphic. Battlecry, I'm not sure yet. I think it's early days. I'd like to get hands-on with that and see what it's really like. Obviously, the big showstopper of the day was Fallout 4. It looks incredible. Everything that they're including, the ability to create your own dwellings and environments within the game. It looks so beautifully fleshed out. I can't believe they've been working on it in secret since 2009. I think for their first press conference, they really nailed it. You know, they didn't try and overdo it with all this kind of PR spin. They got to the games, and I think that there was a really great response to that.
Microsoft exploded onto the scene with a huge announcement.
Today, I'm pleased to announce Xbox One backward compatibility.
We saw franchises we love.
This is Halo 5 Guardians.
This is what we've been racing for.
Okay, you're a big fella.
This is it. And some exciting new IPs were shown as well.
I want a game that is not a game. A simulation MMO that explores mankind's expansion into space.
Then they closed with an even bigger bang. I had to pick my jaw up off the floor after that HOLOLENS demonstration.
You can walk around the hologram, pan around for different viewpoints, and even look inside.
Okay, well, we've just come out of the Xbox showcase, which was pretty impressive, I think. I think we're finally hitting our stride with this generation of console games, which is great. A really great new IP called Recore, which I'm really excited to play. It looks really interesting. Beautiful graphical design. Of course, Dark Souls 3. We just saw a CG trailer there. No gameplay yet, but it looks exciting. A lot of great indie titles too. The one I'm most excited about is Tacoma. It's set on a space station where a bunch of explorers and astronauts have gone missing, and you have to go and discover what happened there, and it looks really eerie and cool.
Hello?
And the one that I'm most excited about is Rise of the Tomb Raider. I felt so cold just watching all of that gameplay footage, and it is literally like edge of your seat action. I absolutely cannot wait to play it. I'm just so excited. Lastly, I guess the one thing that I was really impressed with was there was a really strong female presence, I thought. I saw women developers on stage, I saw women playing games on stage, and a lot of new female playable characters. We saw that a little bit yesterday with Bethesda as well, so I'm just really excited for what that means for women in games. So hopefully we'll see more of that with the press conferences to come.
EA, of course, gave us all what we wanted to see. Yes, it involves lightsabers and speeder bikes.
By far the best place to truly lose yourself and interact with Star Wars is video games. Have you ever wanted to fly an X-Wing? Soaring above the skies, skimming the rims of canyons on Tatooine, while you dogfight against a squad of TIE fighters? Or have you fantasized about being one of the most iconic heroes or villains in the Star Wars universe?
You are Faith. She is graceful, elegant, and as efficient as she is powerful.
The whole game! So what are we waiting for?
A lot of time was spent on their sports franchises.
It's gone! Odell Beckham Jr.!
It was you all along.
Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest football player.
And a few other announcements that fell a little flat. The best takeaway from EA, I thought, was this presentation Swedish developer Martin Salin gave for his game Unravel.
I'm just so happy to finally be here and get to show you all this game that we made. Sometimes things might get more complex, so when you look back at that tangled and winding weave of yarn left behind you, you have to stop and wonder how you ever got there.
Ubisoft brought us some new IPs of their own.
Would you turn and run? Would you stand and fight?
As well as, of course, some crowd pleasers.
Our two assassins, the twins Jacob and Evie Fry, will fight to take London out of the hands of the greedy and the corrupt.
So it's all about character and it's all about story. No matter how or where our enemies strike, no matter what defense they cower behind, Team Rainbow must stand ready.
Hoodrich, go!
Like any superhero adventure, like we get into your backstory, why your butthole is so amazing, basically.
Yeah.
We get deep into that.
Jason Derulo for some reason.
Said anything and everything, baby. Baby, 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 yeah. Say up, get up, get up.
It's 5:30 on press conference day. We've knocked off EA and Ubisoft as well. I think one of the cool things that came out of EA was the Mass Effect trailer. That's really exciting. It was still just an early kind of sneak peek, but I couldn't help but, you know, get tingly when I saw all that footage. With Ubisoft, we saw, of course, Assassin's Creed. Beautiful from what we see so far. You really have to wait until you play it to see if there's anything really innovative that they've done that's different from the previous games. The most exciting thing that came out of the Ubisoft press conference, though, was a game called For Honor. It's a new IP, and it's kind of like in the vein of War of the Roses. Play as like a knight or a samurai or a Viking. Looked really visually impressive, so I hope it plays well. And they have it here at E3, so I'm really hoping to get my hands on it. Now we have Sony. I just gotta finish this ice cream real quick, because, well, it's ice cream.
I'm personally proud and incredibly thrilled to introduce this long-awaited game.
Game studios get a rare opportunity to conquer the challenge of exploring exotic, new horizons.
You call up their dreams and then remix, collage, and link them together. You stand on their shoulders.
But then the whole thing was kind of thrown off course when they did this awkward presentation to launch a Kickstarter campaign for Shenmue.
3, 2, 1. Let's help Yu Suzuki get Shenmue 3 funded.
I mean, is kickstarting a game at press conferences a thing now? Because I am not on board with that. They recovered, of course, with fan favorites they can always rely on. Relic hunting in delicious next gen.
Where the hell are you going? You're the one who said just head down. Oh, crap, crap, crap.
Well, we just wrapped the Sony press conference. There was a lot of fan service there.
The promise has been made.
But I also feel like Sony just took a few more risks, you know? There was that beautiful game from Media Molecule. I have no idea what it's about, but I'm really intrigued by it and I want to play it. And that's a good thing. There was a beautiful new IP as well they debuted called Horizon, which gorgeous art style, really interesting concept, just exciting new games for us to play. Uncharted 4 looks really intense. The gunplay was really ferocious, but I just love how fluid all of his movements are. It just looks great on next gen, so I really can't wait to play that. I'm a big Uncharted fan. The other interesting thing to mention is that COD seems to have made the jump from Microsoft to Sony. It's not exclusive to Sony, but PlayStation users will get first access to maps and the beta, so that was kind of huge. Other than that, though, I thought it was really great. I can't wait to play The Last Guardian and Uncharted and Horizon. Oh, man. When are we going to get to play these games?
My team and I have been working on Assassin's Creed since Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. For us, we love to bring innovation into Assassin's Creed. So this is really in our DNA. And when we look at different periods that we could approach, for us, the more modern times offered us tons of opportunities to bring our spirit of innovation to the Assassin's Creed brand, which is why we chose London of 1868. So Jacob and Evie each represent two different, they're twins, but they're different characters. Jacob is we call him the younger of the two, even though they're twins, but because Evie likes to remind them that she's the oldest one of the two, the more responsible one. Jacob tackles every situation head on, without thinking. Evie represents the other side. She's more strategic, more restrained. She thinks before she acts. So it's going to be fun for our players to see those two characters evolve and meet somewhat in the middle. For me, having those two characters will set Assassin's Creed Syndicate apart. Having the rope launcher, we have guns as well now, so a good revolver, and it changes the way you approach many situations in gameplay. We've invested a lot on having carriages, having systemic vehicles, and this has changed the way we thought about building the game to make sure that we have a good city layout that feels natural for players. And what we're witnessing in playtests is that people, instead of fast traveling from one point to another in the city, they embark on a vehicle and they lose kind of track of time and just see the different activities and opportunities because it's something that feels natural for them to do.
You're a bully, Mr. Strain. And I find I'm not overly fond of bullies.
Every new day holds a promise. You can waste it, or spend it advancing yourself.
When Mirror's Edge first came out, it was trying something really new, and I think people maybe weren't quite ready for it. Are they ready for it now?
I really hope they are. I think it's such a strong universe, it's such a strong heroine, and such a great world to explore. So really, I think they are now, yeah. We've been getting a great response so far. So
where does this game take place in the timeline? Is it fully rebooting the series?
It's not a prequel to the first game or anything like that. We're building on the foundation of the first game. I mean, it's still about faith. It's still about this big, pristine white city. and the corporate surveillance society. We just starting to work on this reboot. We just felt that we had to wipe the slate because we really wanted to do something a bit different and also build that stable foundation that we can just keep building on afterwards. We've worked a lot on our animations and our control scheme. Players of the first game will recognize the movement, but it's just so much smoother, and there's just so much more things you can do once you start investigating, once you start experimenting with the controls and the world and what you can do. And overall, it's a much more freer experience. It's not a linear set of missions that you play in order. There's the whole free roaming element where you can explore and you can choose where to go and what to do.
One thing I really remember from the first game was the use of the color scheme and how that guided you through the environment. How have you evolved that?
The whole following the red, the runner's vision, as we call it, is still a feature in our game. We just had to rebuild it from scratch because, once again, it's not a linear game. So it basically works as a GPS, more or less. You set a location, and this will show you a good way there. Not necessarily the optimal or the best way, but a good way there.
You on the ground now!
Go on, girl. Save us all.
The years are long, but it's always good to see a familiar face.
In Dishonored 2, you can play Emily Caldwin or Corvo Atano. They both have their completely different set of supernatural powers, and the game takes place in a different city. From minute one on this project, when we started thinking about the sequel to Dishonored, there was just a kind of energy about Emily. Because in the first game, she's a 10-year-old girl, and so what would she grow up like? On one hand, she's like got this privileged background. She's the daughter of the Empress. On the other hand, she went through some real tragedy, and then after that, she was raised by Corvo. So, just from day one, we had that curiosity about her, that excitement about her.
You cover your face, but I know who you are. Emily Caldwin.
There's a million challenges related to providing two protagonists. A completely different set of animations, you know, different voice parts, different perspectives on the world. He's coming home to Serkonos, that's where he's from. She's going there to this place that she hasn't been as an adult, and she's not used to being on the run the way she is in the game.
An empire at your feet, and you've lost it all.
All of the stealth mechanics will be familiar to Dishonored players, but they're all deepened and extended. Some people were bothered by not being visible when you lean out from things. So now we have settings that allow the player to more customize the experience.
If you kill me, you become the assassin we claimed you were. You become one of us!
It's a tale that talks about how technology advances and what that means on the battlefield and what that means to us as human beings as we integrate technology into our everyday lives, as these soldiers integrate technology into their minds and their bodies. What that could mean, I'm sure nothing bad will happen when that happens, right?
Get out there, find some cover!
So as you play this game, you're going to be able to choose your path. The kinds of ways you want to upgrade yourself to take on the threats on the battlefield is going to be up to you. And that's really important, because if you're playing co-op, and I've been playing this game for a while, and I've upgraded myself in a particular way, but you want to play with a friend who hasn't progressed as far as you have in the campaign, hasn't upgraded, we want to make it fun for you to go back and play those levels with your friend who hasn't gotten as far and have an entirely different experience. So for example, on the battlefield, we're networked, right? We have a hacker ability. Let's say that you didn't have that earlier on when you were playing earlier levels. Well, now when you play with your friend, if you've upgraded that way, you can go back, replay those same missions in a completely different way than you defeated him the first time.
Thank you. I will not forget this.
You're welcome.
We've been making co-op games for a long time with our zombies mode. We love playing co-op. We love playing with our friends. Being able to bring that into the campaign is awesome. Being able to bring the kind of customization and choice that players get from multiplayer into the campaign as well has been fantastic. Extending customization in the multiplayer with the gunsmith feature, allowing people to create their own version of the weapon that's not just unique cosmetically, but has gameplay benefits that are realized on their weapon is fantastic. Allowing people to paint their own portion of the weapon to make their own unique weapon that no one else in the world will have is awesome. And then you've got all kinds of new toys on the battlefield to play with, interact with, to be able to combat the threats of the future.
Get out of there!
Can I pose with you? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
E3 is an international event. People journey here from every corner of the globe to be a part of this. But I think it will always feel a little bit like an American institution regardless. Which is why it's nice to feel like you're part of a community, a little piece of home. Australian games journalists and PR reps meet at this same downtown bar on the same day every year. It's a nice time to catch up, share stories, and chat about our experiences at the show.
Every year we come to these drinks to meet up with the other Australians. Do you feel like that Australian presence is really an important part of your E3 experience?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's so huge that it's so easy to kind of lose that Australian community in such a global scale. You know, and having tonight's a nice chance to kind of get together with everybody, and we might not see each other after this night over the next 3 days.
So much of it you can stream, and you know, so much of that gameplay footage you can see online. You know, do you think it's still important for people to get hands-on with it here?
Well, look, you can build up the trailers and do all the presentations you like, but in the end, hands-on is always going to be, you know, it's super important for somebody to get hands-on with the game and play it and let people know what they think.
Alana, this is your first time experiencing the madness. What are you expecting?
I have no idea what to expect, but at the moment I'm just feeling a lot of excitement for something that I've streamed online for as long as I can remember. To be able to see it all in person and be in the room and feel the atmosphere is just incredible. So at the moment it's excitement, but I'm also expecting a lot of rushing and busyness and just horrible traffic.
As something that is so heavily streamed by everyone, do you think maybe it's going the direction of a more regular con?
Well, I actually have to sponsor myself to come here. The company that I work for said, no, you did such a good job doing this from your couch last year, why do we need to fly you to E3? So I had to pay for my own flight because they couldn't justify it. So I definitely think that E3 is everyone's convention now, and it's not just a trade convention, it's not just a media convention, because everyone experiences it.
Do you feel like this is kind of a mecca of games for you, or are you kind of a little bit more reserved about what it's going to be like?
I look at games as, you know, this is a thing I have to do for work. I still get excited, but I don't buy into the excitement that I used to. But being here makes me feel I'm 14 again. Makes me like, holy crap, I'm at E3, I'm in LA, like, I can't believe I get to do this as a job. So for me, it is totally exciting, and it's something that I just had in my head as the be-all and end-all of video game shows. So I hope that that doesn't go away by the end of the week, and I hope that I keep being excited and love it forever.
Now you hunt another Spartan, the greatest of your clan.
Every other Spartan, every soldier, when they hear about this, they're gonna hate us. You know that, right?
Watch out!
We're really excited to show Halo 5 Guardians this week. It's the first Halo title that's built from the ground up for Xbox One. This week we showed the new Fireteam Osiris led by Spartan Jameson Locke. You can see right from the start that we have a 4 Spartan squad throughout the entire campaign playing co-op. From the ground up, we've decided that that's a really important pillar that we wanted for Halo 5 Guardians. And so you get these interesting perspectives playing as both the Master Chief and his blue team and the new Fireteam Osiris. And we are debuting Warzone. Warzone is the new massive multiplayer mode. It is 12v12 player versus player, and it includes enemy AI bosses that come into the match. Fighting those enemy AI bosses becomes a really critical element because they're worth a ton of victory points on their own. So your teams have to react really quickly when those things spawn in across the map. It's a really dynamic experience. We also have a new requisition system that goes across all of multiplayer, but in Warzone specifically, you can use this system to call in power weapons, vehicles, and different loadout weapons while you're playing the game, which makes this crazy experience pulling in all of the best elements of core Halo gameplay.
I am the Warden Eternal, keeper of the domain and her secrets. Take him out! The Master Chief is called, but your passage is denied.
They're asking us all to line up to go into this like secret room. They're not really telling us what's in there. I think it's HoloLens. I'm super excited to get hands-on with this because I want to see if it's good as it was in the demo. Fingers crossed. Okay, so I just came out of the HoloLens experience with Halo 5 Guardians. So the first thing that happened was when I was waiting in the line, a woman came over to me and put this kind of device on my eyes to measure my interpupillary distance. So then they went away and calibrated that to a specific HoloLens, which they put it on my head. It then kind of came up with objective markers that I had to follow down a hallway, and then we went into a room where they had set up a table, and the HoloLens then projected your mission objective. In the form of maps, 3D kind of realized maps. You had the Spartan there that was kind of guiding you through everything.
Welcome aboard the UNSC Infinity.
One thing I would say that is a negative is that there's a very small field of vision. So if you move your head sort of slightly up or down, you kind of lose the image. But other than that, visually, it's really impressive. It feels like one of the most sophisticated kind of VR, AR experiences that I've ever had. I'm really excited for what it means for games. It was a really cool experience, so I'm keen to see where it evolves from here.
It all started on this camping trip with my family. I had this I guess this like moment of inspiration, like having all these thoughts, these ideas, like this vision of this character that we made of yarn that would unravel as you move, but just made it with some metal wire. I peeled it off like the anchor cable with an old bolt, like cleaned the rust off it, and just like created this little posable skeleton of it, and just and wrapped it up in yarn that I borrowed from some guy who was asking me, well, what's it for? What's it going to be? And I was like, you wait like 2 years, and then you'll see. And it's like.
The environment very much reflects where you're from. How important was that to you?
It was very important to us because we felt like from the start that this whole game was about making something personal and try to share something that like means something to you. So we decided right away that we need to base this on like our own environment and like the places that we care about and the places that have a deeper meaning to us, and just try to capture the ambience, the atmosphere of those places, because they usually inspire a certain kind of mood, and that's what we've been trying to do. And also, like, you can manipulate the environment because everything is dynamic, so you can pull things and push things and things like that. But then you also have the yarn stuff on top of that, so you can do all these fancy things, like you can swing on it and climb on it, and you can also attach it to things, so you can kind of build platforms, like build bridges, or just tethering things together and like creating anchors so you can rappel and swing. And it's just like, I was nervous, but mostly I was actually just like really, really happy to be there, because it's like when you carry this secret with you for like 2 years, it's like this really, it's really special, this thing to you, and you're just like aching to share it with people. But it feels so good to finally be at that moment where you can reveal it all. It's like, look at what I made, look at it, it's so cool.
We know people come to Doom to blow shit up, as we say, so they come to the game to want to kill demons.
and want to have that just fast-paced experience. We really found the fun very early in our development process and have focused on that. It's about that push-forward combat, never taking cover, never worrying about having to reload your gun or any of those kind of fumbly things. We tend to refer to the game as kind of like playing as Bruce Lee with a shotgun and on a skateboard in a skate park. Movement is such a key, and we've added a double jump mechanic, even our execution moves to move into those quickly and close the distance, take out an enemy, you get health. So your main way to get health is to push into combat and move fast, keep the fight rolling.
I have really strong memories of Doom. It was one of the first kind of really scary games that I encountered. I remember just that feeling of tension and terror. Have you really tried to kind of capture that tension from a horror perspective? We kind of call our game popcorn horror. It's focused a lot more on the action side of things, but of course you're fighting demons from hell. So there are those great moments of tension and fear and startle. But it really is about, you know, kind of that action combat experience, taking the fight to the demons, not holding back at all. And can you talk us through some of the guns, maybe a few of your favorites?
Sure. You get to carry the whole arsenal with you all the time. So we showed the shotgun, which is of course classic, you know, and we actually showed an addition to the weapon system where we can add modifications to guns. So there was a point there in the demonstration where snapped on like a triple burst mod to the shotgun, which is really fun. One of my favorites is it got shown there in hell, the chain gun. It's just awesome. I mean, you just pull it out. It's heavy. It's big. Our weapons team, art director, you know, we go back and we look at, you know, what made those guns feel so good. We get to do so much now with our technology and animation systems that it's almost just like a kid in a candy store. I mean, they just feel so good. I think people will be really happy with it.
So Rainbow Six Siege is the next installation of the series, but what we offer this time is some brand new features that are really taking the brand in a different direction. Namely, the procedural destruction and brand new AI in Terra Hunt. It's the fantasy of being a hero, really. We set gamers up in Rainbow Six Siege to play the role of a counter-terrorist unit, an operator from one of the 5 major counter-terrorist units in the world. We give them special gadgets to defend themselves, and then we let it go. Well, the strategies are changing forever. The team play is super important. You need to really depend on your teammates.
Okay, I'm gonna need a hand here. Does anybody have a silencer on the other side?
I have a silencer. And
okay, you want to take him down on go?
Anytime.
3, 2, 1, go.
Got him.
All right, good job, guys.
But again, tactics and strategy, because the maps are so dynamic and the AI is super incredibly smart, or even when you're playing in PvP, nothing stays the same. You can blow up anything that's not part of the supporting structure of the inside of these buildings. So there's new sight lines opening up constantly. You're always having to check your corners and check your back, and it's extremely tense.
With this procedural destruction, I mean, how do you go about creating something like that, and what sort of challenges do you face?
Well, we have some brilliant programmers helping us out on that side, that's for sure. But the biggest challenge was really getting the AI to react accordingly to that. So we also give them the same tools that the player has. They can repel, they can barricade, but it makes things that much more tense because now you're really fighting against an equal, but in larger numbers. So that was really a big challenge, was getting all of that to play together nicely, very systemically.
Take a look on the right, Nico.
Yeah. Got my back?
Yeah, I'm watching.
All right, breaching.
The room's clear. Clear. Hold on, Nico's clearing the right-hand side.
3, 2, 1.
The lights, the thumping music, the excitement. It is overwhelming. What I wouldn't give to escape for just a moment to collect my thoughts, relax a little, maybe have some barbecue. Well, there is a place I can do this, and it's just across the street. This is Devolver, a little slice of indie heaven outside of the convention center, where you can check out some games, chat to developers.
Oh, this is exciting. Exclusive.
And just chill out. Man.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We have left the press conference now, and we're actually in a car park across the street. and it's amazing. It's so good to get out of the noise and the loud kind of environment. I mean, you were saying before that this kind of represents a cool indie space and the indie philosophy.
Yeah, totally. And here, nobody is thinking who is the best. And nobody is thinking who will be the best seller. It's not even in the minds here. You have a choice when you want to create video games. You can enter in a big company and just be a little part of something really big, or you can choose the indie world and be yourself and bring your personality and your universe and your ideas and your skills in something with a human size. It's the difference.
Yes, that's me! Yep, this place is pretty great. And just when I thought it couldn't get any better.
Catapult the pigeon game? Oh man. When do we have to play that? The pigeon game. It's got a sequel. Well, this is so exciting. I'm here with Luke, who is the producer on the Hatterful Boyfriend series, the infamous pigeon dating sim, which now has a sequel.
Yes, Holiday Star. It's a bit more straightforward. It's rather than the sort of branching Otome sort of game where you can pursue various different birds. It's a bit more like Phoenix Wright or Danganronpa, where you have these self-contained side stories, and there's sort of like linking themes between them, but it's a lot more of a narrative, linear arc, and gives us more chance to explore the characters you know and love and are confused by from the first game. Basically,
Sakuya.
Yeah, Sakuya.
I remember Sakuya. So in the sequel to Hatterful Boyfriend, we can experience a bit more action, a bit more drama, some craziness, and weaponized fangirls.
Of course, yeah. That's a bullet point that we should put right there on the marketing material.
Amazing. I cannot wait.
Thank you very much for your time.
Luke, thank you so much.
Enjoy.
Wow.
Well, I'd love to chill out here all day, but there are always more games. Okay, I just came out of hands-on with For Honor, which is a new kind of game in the vein of War of the Roses, sort of medieval combat. You've got samurais, you've got Vikings, you've got knights, but it's that kind of genre on steroids. It's really polished and modern. It's really, really beautiful. I would say it's also more accessible. All the indicators are really clear so that you know when to block, when to parry, how to attack. That said, I think it's got a lot of a deep enough combat system that people are going to master it and get really, really good at it as well. So I'm really excited about it. I can't wait for this game to come out. I think this genre is really blossoming now, so it's really, really fun to get hands-on with that.
For Honor is really about feeling the emotion of being a warrior on the battlefield, the weight of that sword in your hand, and the decision making, that split second that can decide between life or death. So that's really what we wanted to convey. So that fight, the different hero that you're gonna choose, that raw moment of fear and joy and glory when you win on the battlefield, this is what For Honor is all about. What I think is different with the close quarter combat games is that you see your enemy and you feel it. So that moment in For Honor where you see the enemy coming at you, and that moment where you have the time to wait for him and you prepare and you see it, that in that moment you're like, I will win or die. It's you or me. So it's very intimate. So the art of battle is the combat system that we have and all the controls that you will experience in the game. It's a completely new way of looking at sword fighting. So your right stick controls your guard, which is the position of your sword, and the position of that weapon is also the way you're guarding against enemies. So of course different heroes have different take on it, but basically your positioning makes you win or lose against your enemy, and it's really what you have to think about. So it's not about button smashing or combos, it's really about positioning, observing your opponent, and taking the right decision.
brawl is surely brewing. You're up.
Okay, so this is Cuphead. Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired this game? It's a very 1930s kind of animation art style.
Yes. My brother and I grew up watching a lot of old cartoons, and it just led us to explore this art style in gaming.
So this is like you're going for that real kind of arcade style.
Oh yeah, like straight up arcade, and even slightly harder than the arcades we grew up with. And they just haven't been around for so long that we thought, why not, and bring it back. And I think there's a ton of other people who haven't experienced this that love it, so.
Yeah, and I mean, no one else is doing this kind of art style either. It's just so unique. Oh man, it's so full on. Oh, I'm dead again.
It's slightly hard to ask questions and play with this kind of thing.
So why Cuphead?
Cuphead is our quest to find a character that is reminiscent of 1930s cartoons, but still is a totally original character that hasn't existed since then. All the visuals in the game are hand-drawn on paper and hand-inked on paper. We did a ton of sketches, and just after 300 or 400 different tries, we came up with the cup for a head.
Oh my gosh, I survived.
You did.
We're onto the carrot, the next carrot boss. Yes. Who was throwing carrot missiles at me.
Watch out.
Things like this art style, it's something that maybe the AAA kind of games are too afraid to explore stuff like this, and so you end up with these great indie games that are trying new things.
There's a bunch of executives that would never let this fly.
You say that, then I will die. Australians feel a bit of a sense of ownership over Mad Max.
As they should.
Is there a bit of that Australian flavour within Max himself and the environment?
Definitely. I mean, I think you'll see lots of different accents, you'll see lots of different elements. We've taken inspiration from a myriad of sources, but there are definitely lots of Aussies in our voice cast, and lots of influences from the previous films, which are obviously heavily Aussie represented.
From what I've played of the game so far, the driving is obviously a big aspect of the game, as it was in the films. How have you kind of gone about crafting that sort of freedom within the context of, I suppose, a driving world?
For us, driving and the combat experience is the most important sort of central mechanic in the game. The game premise is based on you getting stripped of your interceptor, and then your journey is to build a new one, the most powerful and feared war machine in the wasteland. We have a kind of DNA, a style of action-adventure, which is, you know, crazy, over the top, lots of explosions.
I'll take you!
Obviously, there are elements that you'll recognize between the film and the game, because we owe it to the creator of that franchise to make the world authentic and to be true to the Mad Max story. So the characters are original, the storyline is original. Obviously, Max and Scrotus are taken from George Miller's universe, but all of the other characters are crafted for the game. The game is definitely an original experience.
I'm here.
Nintendo have approached E3 a little differently over the years. They've gone with a digital showcase instead of a live one, and their booth is more focused on hands-on gameplay than anything else.
Hi, Shiggy.
One of the games I managed to experience was Super Mario Maker. This allows you to create your own Super Mario games, which is really fun because not only can you mix and match enemies and create death traps, but you can choose which generation of Mario you want your level to be set in. And all of this can be changed and edited on the fly.
I'm gonna put a coin in that one. I'm gonna put lots of coins in there. All right, so I've completed my level. Now I'm gonna play it. I'm probably gonna die. What did I put in here again? Oh, I forgot about that. Oh no. The cannon shot out the fire flower, but I am never gonna get that. Oh my gosh. Flying fish, go away. No! You can see the trajectory of where I went. All right, again, let's go. We can do this. All right, this is the same level, but I'm just gonna change the world. I'm gonna go Super Mario Brothers U. Look at that, it's the same level, but it's all like newified. Cool, man. This is Yokai Watch. It's about a boy called Nate who has a special watch that allows him to see yokai within the world, which are kind of little spirits that can inhabit people and make them feel not so great. So you have to go around the world and use your watch to find the yokai, and then you can defeat them, and then you can use them to battle other yokai. So it's a really cool game mechanic. When you send them out to battle, you use the left and right buttons to rotate your team of yokai to the back or to the front. If they get injured, you can keep rotating them and heal them if you need to. And there's little mini games that you can play within the battle to be able to charge up the ability to fight. So there's kind of a lot of different things going on. It reminds me a little bit of Ni no Kuni in the way you explore the world and encounter different characters. It is turn-based combat, but there is that real-time element as well with the little mini games. So that's really interesting.
Entering Corneria's orbit.
You move with the left stick.
Yeah.
So fly around with it a little bit with the left stick. But to actually aim, you use the gyro sensor the way you game back. So
to aim the... Oh, okay, right.
Tricky. So the idea is that this is your cockpit view. So if you're flying and you want to kind of look what's around you, if you look on the gamepad here, and you like look out to the left, and then you're still flying straight on here.
So how do I do a barrel roll?
Tap left and right.
Yay! Oh man. Oh no. That was crazy. So I think what's great about Star Fox is quite often with Wii U games, the gamepad doesn't seem to feature enough, or it features in a way that feels a little bit superfluous. So they've really gone out of their way to make the gamepad functionality something that you use in a completely different way to what you see on the big screen. It takes a bit of brain power to get your head around switching between the two. You know, you kind of use this to aim, but you use the left stick to move, and that's what controls your movement on the screen. But it works really well, and once you get the hang of it, it's actually a really enjoyable way to approach an air shooter. So yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, and I think fans will definitely be impressed.
This is my third time at E3, and I've seen firsthand the changes and impact that live streaming and the constant whirlwind of social media has had on this event. So I managed to ask the tough question. Just how relevant is E3 to the industry?
E3's history was a retail show. We used to come here, and then the retailers would come and look at the games and decide what they wanted to buy for the fall. Right, that's what this was about. And then the press came in later, and the retailers started looking at what the press said was good, and that was the thing they ordered. Now games are so social, and they evolve based on the feedback from the community. And I think you see E3 evolving to embrace that.
And all of these showcases, whether it's ours or all the press conferences, clearly involving the public and letting them see everything is a big part of it. These are the folks that are going to be buying and playing the games. I just hope they're careful about how wide they throw the doors open. I remember not all that long ago when E3 got to the point where it was way too crowded, and it was actually hard to get anything done because they were letting so many people here. It is an industry trade event, and I think it's important that they stay true to that.
I think you've got Comic-Con and you've got PAX, and you know, even if you look to Asia, you've got things like China Joy as well. It wouldn't be E3 because it is actually about the media. It feels more like it's to let the fans see what's happening, you know, and to get the information to them in the best way possible rather than actually have them here.
And I think that's what's the purpose of the people like you that are here, is to tell people how it felt. Sadly, we cannot give it to everybody at the same time. It's more about that aspect of trying the games and having a feel, and maybe talking with the devs that can explain what's in store for people later and what we wanted to achieve with the game.
I see a lot of companies this year have hands-on demos, which is something that's different from the other years. Before it was all behind closed doors, and I think it's going to become more and more relevant as we let our fans play the games that we are building. This way we can get valid and interesting feedback that we can then build into the game.
I think E3 is still a good event to have because it legitimizes the gaming industry, which just allows for more influence for people who thought maybe they couldn't make a game to actually follow their dream and make games.
It is a circus, but it's awesome, right? Like, this is one of the things that's great about games, seeing them all come together. 5 years ago, we would announce Fallout 4 with like a magazine, but now we can just like, we're gonna do an event and we're gonna stream it and everybody around the world is gonna see it at once together. That That is way better, I think.
For us as an industry, this is a great time for us to embrace gamers. That is the reason we're here, to get some news, to get some highlights on our games, but really just to celebrate what this industry is about.
E3 is one of the highlights of my year. I just love it here. It's fast-paced and thrilling, so much so that in all the excitement, I have a tendency to lose things. Where did I last have my phone? Oh, damn it. Turns out my phone was having an E3 adventure all on its own. Here's my phone being interviewed by CNN, eating a cheeseburger, attempting some DJing. Needless to say, I got it back, though I'm a little jealous because it looks like it had a better time than I did. But just as I found my phone, I happened to lose a very expensive radio mic pack that same afternoon. Okay, so in my jet-lagged zombie state, I have a tendency to lose things. But I'm sure to find it though, right? I mean, it's not like it'll be a tricky thing to find in a place like this. And I did find it. It was in Lost and Found. I mean, what are the odds? That never happens. Okay, no more losing things for the rest of E3, I promise.
Tie it on.
Maybe.
So with Fallout 4, why did you feel like it was necessary to go back and experience this world before the apocalypse?
That actually was the original genesis. When I start thinking about a game, I always think about how it starts. Like, what's the interface? How does it start? You know, some big features, but that's one of the things that makes Fallout really special, is that world beforehand.
Good morning, Vault-Tec calling.
Kind of this world of tomorrow, hopeful, retro future where anything is possible.
Ah, good morning, sir. Your coffee.
And then it all gets thrown to shit. Experiencing that moment, and when we show it in the briefing, it's longer than that. We kind of edit it down.
Hold on!
And your character coming back to his neighborhood, that kind of emotion of being in that world and then having that taken away from you is important to us.
As I live and breathe, Mr. Howard, is that really you?
A post-apocalyptic world, most people will say, this is bad, like we have to fix it. But for the people in that world, that's the world they know. So we wanted a sense of normalcy to the post-apocalyptic world, but you were the person coming in and saying, my life has been torn apart. This place is what happened to the world. And so that's also the mind of the player. And so if we can sync that, the mind of the player with their character in the game better, then we've done it right. So that was part of it.
Why do you think gamers enjoy this kind of freedom when it comes to storytelling?
I mean, I think it's one of the things that makes games special. You know, if they are the director of their experience, they'll say, I want action, and they'll go run into a place where they know there's action, or they want downtime, or they want to go to town. They have a story in their head that they're telling about their character, and we want the game to respond to that as best we can.
I've always loved the pause VATS system, but have you evolved any of the combat or the shooting?
Yeah, absolutely. We started over with all the first-person combat to make it feel like a modern first-person shooter in your hands, even though we have all these RPG systems underneath. But the minute-to-minute, how do the guns feel, it was very important to us. There are a number of companions in the game. So you see the robot, like Mr. Handy can be your companion instead of the dog. And then there are other ones as well. You know, and often it's weird. Doing a dog sometimes is easier than a person because he can just bark and like you kind of, your mind assumes what he's barking about.
You want to come with me, pal? Okay then, let's stick together. Hey, head over there.
We spent a lot of time designing the world and the people in it. Like, the world ultimately is the main character of the game. There's very few ideas you can't put in a Fallout game. Like when we're doing Elder Scrolls, you can have a lot of wacky ideas and you think, well, that doesn't really fit. And with Fallout, you usually can find an angle for something really wacky. And so I think it's that juxtaposition in Fallout in particular of, it can be very serious and scary and survivalish.
A month ago, there were 20 of us. Yesterday, there were 8. Now we're 5.
And then it can be like instantly funny.
That means you're 2 centuries late for dinner.
Or like B-movie crazy fantasy.
Ready to some shit up?
Like with Lizard Man or whatever, you know, whatever you want to do. And it just kind of works.
So we've just arrived at Sony upstairs in the LA Convention Center and have been told that all of our Sony interviews have been cancelled because the devs have gone home early. It's like 1 o'clock on a Thursday. This is crazy. This is the last day of the show. This was our last opportunity to get all these interviews, and I cannot believe that means no Uncharted 4. That means no The Last Guardian, no Horizon, and no Dreams.
Which is such a shame because it's such a strong lineup of games. I've got high hopes that The Last Guardian will deliver the atmosphere and magic that we all expect from Team Ico. And Horizon Zero Dawn was a refreshing surprise from Guerrilla Games. I mean, they could have easily churned out another Killzone shooter, but to give us a futuristic robot dinosaur hunting game, brilliant! And what can you really say about Uncharted 4: A Thief's End other than bring it on, Drake? To not get a chance to chat with these devs about these games was devastating, but I did at least get to see what the PS4 will bring with its VR add-on, Project Morpheus.
Okay, let's talk Morpheus. The first game I had a go of was Playroom VR. This, I think, was a really great application of the technology. Great for really young gamers. You know, you move your head to kind of smash through walls. It basically puts you in the role of a giant monster. You can see your tail when you look down, and it's also got a multiplayer function, so other gamers can get on a controller and throw objects at you and you try and dodge them and stuff like that. I've got nieces, and I can just imagine them really, really having a wonderful time with that experience. The next game I played was Kitchen. Well, it wasn't really a game, it was just kind of a horror experience. There is a... I'm getting stabbed! Oh my gosh. I also had to go of another 2 games, Eve Valkyrie and Battlezone. Eve Valkyrie was a kind of dogfight space fighter game that was kind of a little tricky to get the hang of. I don't know, I wasn't a huge fan. I think once the technology gets a little bit better and the image is a bit sharper, it'll suit that kind of space combat really well, but at the moment I think the image needs to be clearer for that kind of precision shooting. The game that was probably my favorite was Battlezone. It was a really cool kind of 80s Tron-style environment where you're in the cockpit of a tank and just using a game controller to fight at other tanks and, you know, aerial attacks and things like that. But it was just really fluid and easy to move around. I felt within that enclosed space the most comfortable, I think, of all of the games that I've tried. And it was just really fun. I would happily sit and play that for an extended period of time. No worries. As for the device itself, I think it has a little way to go. The image is just not very sharp, similar to the Oculus, and I think it's going to cause issues with some elements of gaming where you need to be able to clearly see the images that you can fire at things and interact with objects. Other than that, I think it's just really exciting that we have this VR and they're making these headsets and we're developing the technology. I just think it needs to be refined and have those images a lot clearer so that we can have that fully immersive gaming experience.
Please don't try to find me.
Rise of the Tomb Raider is Lara becoming more than a survivor and embarking on her first great tomb raiding expedition.
I need to do this alone.
The things that we want to keep is that this is still Lara's journey. This is her story. So even though she's progressing as a character, this is her understanding that she was meant to be. She was destined to be the Tomb Raider. So that's what she has to become in Rise of the Tomb Raider. What we wanted to improve is a lot of everything else. So our hub worlds now are 3 times bigger than they were in Tomb Raider. That means that there's tons of stuff for you to do in them, whether it's optional side missions for allies, hunting, collectibles, challenges. And then we also really wanted to upgrade our guerrilla combat. You know, Lara's always been sort of a scrappy, desperate fighter. She's never meant to be an assassin. But what we've done is give her a little bit more skills, a little bit more of those guerrilla tactics, so she can really use the environment, turn it against the enemies, craft weapons on the fly, upgrade her weapons. We're finally now delivering that level of detail in the world and in Lara that we always had in our mind's eye. And I think that helps really immerse you in the experience, so you really get that cinematic survival action. But it also comes down to the performance capture. You know, we work with Camilla Luddington. She's incredibly talented, and she sells Lara just being in those situations. You feel, like you said, cold when Lara's in that situation. You're cold with Lara.
Okay. Got to start a fire.
If the gaming industry can show that they are more and more willing to play as female protagonists, I think that's awesome for everyone. We've always felt that our goal was to deliver the most realistic and human version of Lara possible. That she'll shiver when she comes out of water or warm her hands by a fire when she passes it. We want her to feel real, and we also want her to be known for her intelligence as well as her skill and her, her indomitable will to find the truth.
Incredible. This is it.
We got incoming Imperials! Look alive!
Are you feeling the pressure of Star Wars fandom?
Yes, I absolutely am feeling the pressure of Star Wars fandom.
Hang in there, help is on the way.
Blue 15 going in.
What we're doing is, so we're focusing on the classic Star Wars of the original trilogy, and we're bringing you ground-based battles with walkers and speeders, but also with starfighters.
The walker is exposed. Focus all firepower on it.
You know, we're bringing you all-out epic warfare in the Star Wars universe, and we're catering basically to the Star Wars battle fantasies that people have had. Obviously, the gameplay experience from whether you're Imperial or Rebel is very different because the Imperials have the walkers, they have the massive AT-ATs, and so they have to basically, the job of the Imperial soldiers is to support the walkers and protect them, whereas the Rebels need to take them out. So because the sides in Star Wars are asymmetrical, the Rebels, as an example, don't have any, pure counterbalance to the walkers, then it provides some interesting, challenges for us in the design and the balancing of the game, but also a very unique experience.
It's a real dream come true for a lot of people. There's such a romance to the world of Star Wars. Do you and the team ever have just full-on nerd meltdowns when you're making this?
We kind of do. I mean, all of us at DICE are on the Battlefront team. We're all Star Wars fans. We all have been fans of the franchise from an early age, which I think, majority of our generation has in terms of, you grow up with Star Wars, it's a part of your cultural reference. For gamers and people in the game industry, they're super fans of the franchise. And so when we get the access that we do to the Skywalker Ranch and the archives, the Lucasfilm archives, and we get to be around the original props from the movies and pick up a lightsaber or look at Darth Vader's mask and helmet, and obviously you geek out. And we have, we've had those moments, and especially as things have started to come together and we've been able to play our creation, the way it's meant to be played, with everything in there, the audio, the effects. I mean, we're so happy with what we're making, and we can't wait for people to actually experience it and play it. And it's a great experience here on the show floor, both to see people play our Tatooine mission or our Hoth multiplayer and just see how happy and engaged they are.
And very suddenly I find my journey coming to an end. There's always so much to take in here, so much to see, play, and do, that each day flies by at the speed of light. I'm not ready for all this to be over, and yet the show is literally shutting down around me. I've had some incredible experiences, caught up with old friends, and made some new ones. And I've spoken to a lot of people about what E3 means to them. And what I've concluded from that is, now, more than ever, with just about every outlet constantly streaming to the public,
Favorite the robot? Darren, yeah. Got a robot?
It's a way to generate discussion about what we see here at this one massive event where people come from all over the world to share their excitement for the same thing. I mean, sure, there is an element of theatre to it all, but it's hard not to get swept up in that. And for the developers making these games, it's about seeing their passion and having that passion reflected back at them in the reactions from the people there, in front of them, in person, playing the games, having a face-to-face conversation. And you just can't get that anywhere else. My last day in LA, and I just have one more thing to do.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
I was not expecting to get that wet. I mean, they said we were going to get wet, right?